You wrote your answers for last week's ACT, or if you sent yourself a copy, go to your email and open that up. If you need to open up the questions, it was dated 9/2, ACT Prep 9216. Get there, get that going. This is not optional. Let's go. Let's go, let's go.
Is it okay that I wrote them down?
Yes, that's actually one of the easier ways to handle it. Alright. I just like for you to be able to know why, if you put something else, why you might have done that. 9-2. So go down the, or you have to look. Yeah, look at those 9-2 ones there. No, don't open that one. Yeah, go back. That's just, yeah, well, that's just telling you how many. Don't do that one up under. Yeah. It'll say Google. There you go. You can scroll down and it'll show you which ones you pick. It'll say Google Forms if you sent yourself a copy in your email. It's not everybody did, I realize. Alright, on number 21 through 40 is what we're looking at here. On number 21, we got a 5x7 photo that we've got to cut because our frame is 4x6. So if we take our 5x7 photo and we cut it down to a 4x6 photo, how much area did we lose? That's what it's asking you there. So you know if our photo was originally 5x7, we had an area of 35. If we cut that down to a 4x6, our area is 24. So how much did we lose? 35 minus 24. We lost 11 square inches on that, which was C, as in crocodile. Okay? All right? Number 22. We're going to fly through these unless you stop me with a question. 22. We've got to put some points on the line. So here's my line. That looks like a good one. It says A, B, C, and D are going to be on that line. B has to be between A and C. So I've got to put A with B between it and C. So start off pretty good alphabetically there. But then it says D is between C and B. So D, you got my alphabet out of order now, is between C and B. Okay, now it did not tell me how many units apart they had to be, how many inches apart they had to be. Did not give me any rules on any of that. So it's just basic. I could move A way down here if I wanted to. I could move C way up here. You could move them. They just have to stay in that order. And that's important on how they ask the questions here. Choice F, it says which of these must be true. Choice F says BC's got to be smaller than AB. BC has got to be smaller than AB. Does it always have to be that way? Well, if I move C way over here, they'd still be in the right order. BC wouldn't be smaller, would it? So it's not going to be choice F. Okay, erase that. You can see G. Choice G says BD smaller than AB. BD smaller than AB. Looks like it is on the way I have that written. But couldn't I scoot A real close over here to B and they still be in the right order? Yep, so that one's not going to always be true. So that one's out. Next one, choice H, says BD is smaller than CD. BD smaller than CD. Not necessarily. You could scoot the C real close to the D, couldn't you, and still be in the right order? So it's not that one. So we're 0 for 3 so far. That's not good, my friends. Next choice says CD smaller than AB. CD is smaller than AB. Well, the way I have it drawn, it is. But I could again scoot A real close to the B. They'd still be in the right order. Then it wouldn't be true anymore, would it? Dadgummit. So far none of them have worked. That last one doesn't work. I've messed up for only the second time in my life.
I haven't even had my first mess up ever.
Well, you're pretty good there, boy.
Alright,
the last one says CD is smaller than BC. CD is smaller than BC. Now I wrote it like that on purpose so that you could see CD has to be inside of BC. Even if I were to drag C way out to make CD bigger, that would also keep making BC bigger, wouldn't it? So CD to be inside of that has to always be smaller, which would mean K, as in kangaroo, is correct. Alright, 23 was a tricky one. 23. Got the prime, the factors on number 23. It says X and Y are positive integers. Integers means whole numbers, and that's going to be important later on the question. X and y are positive integers such that the greatest common factor of x squared, y squared, and xy cubed is 45. What is y? Alright, so x squared, y squared, and xy cubed, their greatest common factor is going to be equal to 45. So first thing I'm going to do is find what's the greatest common factor of just those expressions. Okay, in order to do that, I got to know that x squared, y squared is the same as x times y, right? Because squared means 2, squared means 2, right? Xy cubed is the same as x times y times y times y. Okay, so now I'm looking for the greatest common factor, so let's go down the road here. They both got an x to the first. This one's got another x. Does the bottom one? No. So as far as x's go, there's going to be x to the first. Okay, y's. They both got a y to the first. They both got another y. That's y squared. This one's got a y cubed. Do they both have a y cubed?
Yes, ma'am.
No, the top one don't. So it'd just be y cubed. So xy cubed would have to equal 45. Now I said cubed and wrote, like, tricked me. Squared. They got a square. Alright, so xy squared equals 45, my bad. Now, factors, this greatest common factor, so we got to know some factors of 45. What whole numbers can I multiply to make 45? Well, about 1 times 45, 3 times 15, 5 times 9. Are there any other factors of 45? Hello? Are there any other factors of 45? Nope, that's it. So, plugging those in down here now, if I make these factors be x and y, let's see what would work. If I made 1 be x and 45 be y, would 1 times 45 squared equal 45? 45 squared is huge. 45 is 45. That's not going to work, right? What if I flipped it? Would 45 times 1 squared equal 45?
Yes.
Yes, right? So my y could be 1. Look at your choices. Is that an option? Nope, so we can mark that pair out. Okay, 3 and 15. Does 3 times 15 squared equal 45?
No.
Nope. What about 15 times 3 squared?
Yeah.
No, that's 15 times 9, so that wouldn't work. Now, one thing I got to think about, I didn't mention it, but with the 1, what's the square root of 1? 1. So I could have had a square root on that. Are these 3 and 15, are either of those perfect squares? Could I break that down that way? Okay, good. David is right. They're not. Perfect square means it's an integer. The square root of 3 is not an integer. It's not a whole number. The square root of 3 is 1 point, blah, 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 blah. It's 1 point, a bunch of junk. Square root of 15 is, let's see, 4 is 16. So it would be 3 point, blah, 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 3 point, a bunch of junk. So those aren't perfect squares, so I can't do that. All right, 5 times 9 squared. Does that give me 45? That's 5 times 81. No. What about if I flipped it? 9 times 5 squared. No. But I'm out of options. So I wonder if I can do some perfect squares with this one. Is 5 a perfect square? No, it's 2 point blah, 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 blah. But what about 9? 9 is the same as 3 squared, right? Let's see if we can make that work. 5 times 3 squared. Does that equal 45? Yep.
5 times 2.
Yep, that equals 45, doesn't it?
Oh, no, no.
Yep. So what's my y? What's in the y spot? 3. That was a little bit more thought-provoking of the selection so far. But luckily, after that one, the next one's pretty easy. So if we might have wasted a little time on that, we can save a little bit of time on the next one. That one right there, that 3 was E as an eggplant. All right, number 24. To test a new medicine, each of 300 volunteers was assigned a distinct number from 1 to 300. Next, a calculator was used to simulate drawing 150 balls from among 300 congruent balls. The balls were numbered the same way as the volunteers, so that 150 received medications that would be chosen without bias. The other volunteers would get the placebo. Weeks later, the two groups were compared. Which of the following best describes what the company did? Alright, so the first thing I noticed when I went through choices F through K was randomized and non-randomized. So that's the first thing I asked myself, was this done randomly? What do you think? Yeah, I agree over here with Jordan. If they had used the calculator for a random number generator, then it was done randomly. So I can now mark out G and K because those both said non-randomized. Okay, from there now I got to know what some words mean. F says a random census. If they're trying to figure out if the medicine has a real effect or if it's just a placebo, is that a census? What does a census mean?
No, census is you like collect data and add it all up together.
Okay, census is actually just counting. That's what Abby said, added it all together. They do a census every 10 years of populations. Find out if your cities are getting bigger now. It's just counting how many people live in that. So this would not be a census. Okay, G says a random experiment. Maybe. Trying to see if the medicine actually worked or not, so hold on to G. J says it's a random survey. What's a survey? If I want to go to find out what your favorite food in the cafeteria is, I would ask different questions. Who likes hot dogs? Who likes pizza? Who likes spicy chicken sandwich? How many pets do you have in your house? I got 16 chickens and 1 dog. I've got 2 dogs and 8 chickens. I don't know. Those would be surveys. Is that what they did? No, they weren't asking people any questions and collecting data. So it would have to have been our best answer. G is a randomized experiment. So that would be G as in gargantuan.
I just thought that was funny because that was like a really difficult word for.
Alright, 25. I like 25. So look at 25. It's an easy one. It says one caution light flashes every 4 seconds and another flashes every 10 seconds. At a certain instance, though, both flash at the same time. How many seconds until that happens? So if I got one that flashes every 4 seconds, that means if I started at 0, it would flash at 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24, 28, 32, 36, 40, 44, and so on. Right? Every 4 seconds. The other one flashes every 10 seconds. We were doing this morning, and one girl said, I can count by 5's good. I was like, well, good for you. What the heck?
It wouldn't.
You count by 5. All right, so this one flashes every 10 seconds. Now, before we answer the question, what did I just list there? It starts with an M.
Multiple.
Very good. These are my multiples of 4. These are my multiples of 10. So we're actually just finding the least common multiple. So I'm looking for where they will flash at the same time. The first one is 20 seconds. So that was D as in dynamite. Next page, number 26. 26. It says, which of the following is always negative? That means it could never have a positive answer. It's got to be negative every time. F says A minus B. Well, if my A were 4 and my B were 2, 4 minus 2 is positive. That is not always going to be negative, so it can't be A. B says negative A minus B. So this time, what if my A were negative 2 and my B were negative 3? Negative 2 minus negative 3 is a positive 1, so it is not always negative. C says absolute value of A plus B. That one's going to always be positive, because even if I had negatives in there, absolute value of a negative is a positive, absolute value of a negative is positive, so that is not always negative. D changes it, or excuse me, these are F, J, H, and K. J changes it to a subtraction problem. That one can be negative. If I had negative 3 minus negative 4, that would be 3 minus 4, which would be negative 1. But it can also be positive. If I flip those, negative 4 absolute value minus absolute value negative 3, that'd be 4 minus 3. That one would be 1. So it's not always negative. So then the last choice is K. And the reason K is correct is because it puts that negative out in front of the problem. So that means work it all out and then make it a negative. Okay, so that's the one that will always be negative. So that's K as in kilt. For all you Scottish people out in the audience today. 27. Tell me if we need to slow down and talk about one of them. 27, we got a standard XY coordinate plane. There it is. Bam. A circle has a radius of 3 and the center at 0, 0. That means the center is at the origin, so that's pretty good. If that's a radius of, that's 3, so 1, 2, and then those are 3's all the way around. So 1, 2. Alright, so we got our circle drawn, that's beautiful. Then it says that a parabola has a vertex at -3, -2. So there's the vertex. And it goes through the point -2, -1. So then it would have its other point over there. So our parabola would look something like that. The question says, the circle and the parabola intersect at how many points? Well, there is 1, there is 2. They intersect twice, which is C, as in cow. Good, good, good. Alright, number 28, it's just basic math stuff there. You just had to remember how to rewrite percents, and you had to remember that of means multiply in math. Fourth period, they kept wanting to say divide. Of is a multiply word. So it says 40%, that's 0.4. Of, that's times, is equal to 60%, that's 0.6. What number? Okay, 4.4 times 250. Anytime you got 4s, 25s, that's easy to figure in my head because 4 quarters make a whole dollar. I can work all that kind of way. If there's 25 questions on a test and I'm making out of 100 points, they're all worth 4, 4 times 25. So I can get that pretty quick. 40% of 250 is 100. If you don't know it, I feel a little sorry for you, but there's a calculator in your table. 0.6x, divide by 0.6. Now this is not as obvious. Some people looked at that, well, that's got to be 6. No, no, no. This is fractions from the 4th grade here. 0.6 is the same as 6/10, which is the same as 3/5. Dividing by 3/5 is the same as multiplying by 5/3. So that's 500 over 3, also known as 166 2/3. Which is H as in happy, happy, happy. I like fractions, they're fun. I wish y'all would try fractions more instead of just saying, oh no, fractions, and go to the next one. They're not difficult. You eat pizza, you do fractions. Alright, so we alright? Everybody's flying pretty good. Number 29. 29. Negative 2x minus 6y greater than 2y minus 4. Alright, this one it says, which of the following inequalities is equivalent? So again, you got to know what equivalent means. The first part of the word equivalent has EQU. That's equal. So you're looking for which one is equal. All of the choices are in terms of x. It says x is greater than or less than something. So that means we need to solve this thing for x. So I'll look here at my x to get that by itself. It's got 6y being subtracted. So I'm going to add 6y to both sides. It's got a like term over there when I add it that I'm going to combine it with. That gives me negative 2x. Keep going. Greater than 2y and 6y is 8y minus 4. Alright, now I'm trying to solve for x. It's being multiplied by negative 2, which means I had better divide by negative 2. So, cancels out there. Now we got a middle school rule to remember here. I divided by a negative and there was an inequality sign. What happens to an inequality sign when you multiply or divide by a negative? It flips at it, girl. So this is going to now say less than. It used to say greater than, but I divide by negative, so it flipped. 8y divided by negative 2 is negative 4y. Negative 4 divided by negative 2 is a positive 2. So I got that. Solve for x. Looking at Brianna's, that looks like A is in alligator. Allie the alligator ate my apple. That was a bunch of A's there, Jerry. Next page, we're moving right along. Number 30, and you, when I worked it the first time, I drew a little triangle there on my paper, but I didn't need to, so I'm not going to draw one with you now. I don't know what that little, I think it looks like a fancy X that's a sign of something. last period said it's an A. I don't know what that is. I'm not real sure. In algebra, our major variable is X. Most of the time we're solving for X. We've always got an X. When we get into trig, the major variable is called theta, Theta. It's kind of like a fancy zero looking thing, like a zero with a line through it, whatever. That's theta. That's just the variable that they use a lot in trig. It's the same as an X. So whatever this little symbol is there, it's the same as an X. It doesn't really matter. Tells me that the sine of whatever that is 40 over 41. The cosine is what it asked me to find. I don't know. And the tangent is 40 over 9. Now, is anybody taking the ACT tomorrow? Tomorrow's an ACT day. Jacob's taking anybody else? I always hear because I have a couple of senior classes, but Algebra 2 is my main class. And so everybody's like, well, I don't want to take it yet because I hadn't had trig. There is a small fraction piece, whatever you want to say, of trig on the ACT. But all of the trig that's on the ACT can be solved using your ratios, opposite hypotenuse, adjacent hypotenuse. So if you can remember SOHCAHTOA, that's all the trig you will need for the ACT. It doesn't get deeper than that. It's not too difficult. Sometime when you have time, if you care, you can't read it from your desk. That poster up there that says College Readiness Standards, that breaks it down into how many questions of each type are on the ACT and what you would have to get what score. Like I'll give you that second one right there says a score range of 13 to 15, which I hope we would shoot higher than that. But a score range of 13 to 15, you would need to know your basic operations, that's like PIMDA stuff, probability. So it goes through each of that on there. See, they don't even have, trig isn't even described in any of that. You got measurement, you got figures, you got graphs, lots of geometry type stuff. So anyway, I just wanted to say that because just because you haven't had trig does not mean you can't get a good math ACT score. Okay, that's all that's about. All right, and so I did have this on the board when you did it last week, reminding you sine is always opposite over hypotenuse, cosine is always adjacent over hypotenuse, and tangent is always opposite over adjacent. So for cosine, I need adjacent. Well, they told it to me when they told me tangent. It's 9. I also need hypotenuse. They told me hypotenuse when they told me sine. It's 41. So the cosine had to be 9 over 41, which was F as in fabulous or fart. Thanks, Abby. Nobody else left.
There's a word for, like, when you say Civil War it's like a word that says something and then it's the opposite.
Oh, oxymoron?
Fabulous fart.
Well, a fart could be fabulous. Abby agrees. I don't want to go into any reasoning or with you on that, but we're recording this class right now. It's not going any farther than that. All right, 31 was probably, in my opinion, you might tell me different, it's probably the most difficult of these 20. We will cover later in the year what's called variations. There's direct variations and indirect variations, and they all have a constant value. And for whatever reason in math, K stands for constant. I don't know if it's because they're worse spellers than me and they don't realize it's supposed to be a C, but they use K for the constant of variation, so that's what we're going to use when we work this year. It tells us that the sides have a ratio of 3 to 5. That doesn't mean the sides are 3 to 5. It means that we could reduce them down to that, to 3 to 5. So you actually could, I'm going to teach you do this problem using the K, but you actually could use trial and error and go that way and get it with common sense if you didn't understand what was going on. But it tells me the perimeter of this rectangle is 96 centimeters. And I know to get perimeter, I have 2 lengths plus 2 widths. So that's going to be equal to 96. Now this is asking me to solve for the length. So I'm going to go ahead and break this down now. I'm going to divide all this by 2. If 2 lengths and 2 widths equals the whole perimeter, 1 length plus 1 width would equal half the perimeter, right? That's common sense on that part. Now, here's the part where you don't know about. It says the ratio is 3 to 5. So I'm going to say my length for the 3 is going to be equal to 3 times whatever that constant is. My width for the 5 is going to be equal to 5 times whatever that constant is. I know that length plus width has to equal 48, and these are my lengths and my widths. So 3K plus 5K has to equal 48. Well, that's 8K. So now I know my constant has to be 6. So, check this out. My length is 3 times 6. My width is 5 times 6. Question asks for the length. Shazam. Now you could have gotten that other ways. Okay, so could have used some common sense and figured out what would add up to 48, and then does it reduce down to 3 over 5? You could, that would have worked. You could have done that. But that was B as in Boomland. All right, 32. Triangle ABC shown there. It tells you all the stuff about that. It says the area of a certain square is equal to that area of that triangle. What's the side of the square? Okay, so I got to find the area of that triangle, which I use 1/2 times base times height. So the base on that triangle is 16, and the height is 8. That's easy. You don't need a calculator for that because that's 1/2 of 16, which is 8, times 8, 64. So the area is 64. It says my square has the same area. What's special about a square is its sides are the same. So x times x has to equal 64. What times itself equals 64? Yes, geniuses, it is 8. You are correct. G is in gorilla. Alright, next page is the one where we got the basketball courts. Let me draw the basketball court and we will work. I need a big old rectangle. Beautiful. I need a little square. Beautiful. I need to move it just a smidge, make it look like it's supposed to look. I need a semicircle.
You're really good at drawing these.
I know, isn't that good? I'll tell you what. You never know, I can spell it right. A-E-J-F-B. I don't know why they didn't put these in order so I could J-F-B. Then we got H-G. Hey, that's us. H-G. Then we got D-K-C. What's that? Dumb kids cry? Okay. Oh, I didn't say that. Alright. Tells us that BC is 12. AB is 10. Okay, and HG is 3.6. Alright, so number 33 says the length of EH is what percent of the length of AD? Well, I don't have AD labeled, but that's a rectangle, so you know it's 12. I don't have EH labeled, but I read up there in the problem that EFGH is a square. So if HG is 3.6, EH is also 3.6. So to find out the percentage, it's just 3.6 divided by 12, which is 0.3, which is 30%. So number 33 is B as in Boomland. 34, what is the length of JD? This one a lot of people questioned. Well, they said it's not on there. Well, you take your little pencil and you draw it. There it is. There's JD. Now, I hope you see that I just made a right triangle. Right triangle's best buddy is the Pythagorean theorem. A squared plus B squared equals C squared. So I've got, this is 12. 12 squared plus, what's this? Anybody out there? Earth?
That's a leg.
Yeah, but what? How long is it?
5.
Good, because that whole thing is 10. We split it in half. So 12 squared plus 5 squared equals C squared. 144 plus 25 is C squared. 169 is C squared. So C is 13, which is F, as in Friday. Hey, I hadn't used that one yet today. That's a good one. I think I got perfect squares in my head up to 15. I can do those pretty good. C squared, 13 squared is 169. This is an easy trick on how you remember 14 squared. It's 196. You just flip 13 squared. So if you can remember 13 squared is 169, 14 squared is 196, and then 15 squared is 225. After that, I gotta work them out. But, yeah, can't be like that girl this morning that can count by fives.
Go on 5. That's a big accomplishment.
Got by 10.
Hey, it's even better. Alright, 35. What's the length in meters of arc CD? What it tells you about arc CD up there in the problem, it says, somewhere, CD is the diameter of a semicircle. Semicircle means half a circle, so I actually want to find the circumference of half a circle. Circumference is pi times diameter, but I want it of half the circle, so I'm going to half that. The diameter is 10. So I got 10 pi divided by 2. So that is 5 pi, or pi 5. Let's go eat. I'll take the farmer's market. Love it.
Never been there.
Oh, it's good.
I've heard that.
One time I tried something different, but so far farmer's market, I'm stuck on that.
What's that?
It's got like the mushrooms and peppers and spinach, all the veggies.
You want to go 5-5?
Well, I actually put an application in there over the summer.
They said that. You want to go 5-5?
Yeah.
Wow.
They didn't hire him. He's still eating there.
Oh, stuff to do.
Okay, on 36 now, we're taking that beautiful picture that we've drawn. It says, and we're placing it in a standard XY coordinate plane so that K is at the origin. So here's my K down here. Let me get a new color so maybe it'll stand out. We're going to make that be the origin. So there goes my Y-axis straight through the middle of it. Here comes my X-axis straight through the middle of it. Okay, so there we've got it at the origin. It says if 1 meter is 1 coordinate unit, what could be the Y coordinate of H? Y is up and down. So if I left from the origin here, how many would I go up to get to here? Well, if I went the whole length, I would go 12. But I'm taking 3.6 out of that. So it's just 12 minus 3.6, which is 8.4, which is H, as in hallelujah, it's Friday.
Grandpa Halloween forward today. Like jalapeno.
Chocolate.
Yeah.
You know, she might be good at counting by 5s, Jared might be good at counting by 10s, but nobody is as good as me at counting by 1s. Pretty good at it.
Last page. 37's pretty easy one. Jared just said powers of 2. He's going. He said challenge accepted. He's good at powers of 2. Alright, so they give us something like this here on number 37. It says, what is the height of the altitude? So first of all, you got to know what altitude is on that. Altitude's always perpendicular from your 90-degree angle. That's just how tall it is. So that's all you're looking at, is how tall that is. Way I said for other people, remember I've never been to the altitude, whatever that thing, trampoline thing is. But when you go there, you jump on the trampoline, you see how high you can jump at altitude, height. There you go, we made a connection. Alright, point A is 1,1, need to know that. Point C is 2,4, need to know that. I'm looking for how high that is. Height is on the Y's. It went from 1 up to 4, so it is 3 units high. A, as in armadillo. Alright, on 38, I had a lot of whining about number 38. I don't know how to do E. I don't even know what. It tells you what to plug in. That's just a plug and chug problem. There's one thing that you might not have known, but I'm fixing to teach it to you right now. But as far as E goes, catch this, the number E. The number E. E is actually a number. Whoa, it is. We'll learn about it later in the year. It goes along with logs. When we get into logarithms, that's when we'll get to meet our friend E, the number E. but it tells you e to the negative 3 is 0.05. So it doesn't matter that you don't know what the number e is yet. It tells you what to plug in that spot. So you're good on that. It says, and you got to read all this, it says n in that formula. Everywhere there's an n, that's the number of customers at the post office. But it tells you down there to use 2. You're solving for n equals 2. Okay, so you've got everything you need to plug into that equation. It would say 3 to the n, which is 2, times e to the negative 3, which is 0.05, divided by 2 with an exclamation point. Now that's what I want to teach you about real fast, the 2 with an exclamation point. Exclamation point in math is called a factorial. F-A-C-T-O-R-I-A-L. I actually spelled something right. It's called a factorial. In English, we see an exclamation point, and we would say that means 2! You know, you emphasize it, you scream it, you say it loud. Does it mean that? That scare anybody? Does it mean that in math? Jared, you should have known that was coming. You've heard that before. In math, if I had 7, for instance, if I had 7 factorial, here's what that means. You start with that number. So I start with 7, and I multiply every number underneath it until 1. Okay? So that's pretty big. 7 times 6 times 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1, that's going to be a pretty big number. Factorials get large. But 2 factorial is just 2 times 1. So when this says divided by 2 factorial, you're just dividing by 2 times 1, which is 2. Okay? When we get in, and that's used, factorial is used a lot with probability, and we usually do probability in here in the second semester. When we get into that, there's even a factorial in these calculators. There's a place we can go and find that exclamation point, and it'll do that for us. That ends up being 3 squared is 9 times 0.05 divided by 2. When I worked all that out, I got 0.225. All the choices were rounded to the nearest hundredth. So I had to look here after it's 5 or bigger, so that rounded it up to 0.23, which was J as in Jared. Two more. We ready? Hanging in there? 39 is one that you might miss right now. F of x is the same as y. I already wrote a y, so I'm going to leave that. It's equal to 1/2 times the cosine of 3x plus pi. You'll be able to get this right easier later. Let's put this, try to make a weird connection to what we're doing now. It doesn't work very well, but I can explain it that way. We're doing parabolas right now. We wrote down vertex form the other day. Y equals a times x minus h squared plus k. We did that. H and k is the vertex. It always had its spot to be in, right? Same thing with cosine and sine functions. Stuff goes in a certain spot, and you just don't know it yet because we haven't done it yet, but you'll get there. The amplitude in these things, its spot is always out in front. So you just didn't know that yet, but the amplitude of that thing would be 1/2, which is B, as in Boomland. Okay. Alright, last one's pretty easy probability one. I like it. It's kind of fun. It says a certain state is making license plates with 3 letters taken from the alphabet and 3 digits taken from the 10 from 0 to 9. What's important on that is it tells you that the letters can be repeated. So if I wanted LLL, it could be. Okay? So if I there's 26 letters for me to choose from for my first spot. There are still 26 letters left for my second spot, and there are still 26 letters left for my third spot. If they told me you can't repeat the letters, then I would have had 26, but whatever I got there, I couldn't repeat, so then it would be 25, and then it would be 24, right? Because if I had chosen an L here, the L's out. There's only 25 letters left, and then it would go down, but they told me I could repeat them. So you could have ZZZ, all 26 are available. Same thing with your digits. You could have 10 digits for the first one, and you can repeat them. 10, 10. If you couldn't repeat them, it would have been 10, 9, 8. Okay? That's not a choice, so I need to see if I can rewrite this in any way. Well, I got 3 26s, so how about 26 cubed? And I got 3 10s, so how about 10 cubed? I didn't put it exactly like the choice did, but can't that go in either order? Yep. Which was F, as in Fandango. Alright, what we're going to be in here, we've been doing parabolas. Okay, we took a day break to do our ACT stuff, been doing parabolas. Monday, we're going to be back to parabolas. Monday, though, I will be in Miss Warford's office. I will be on campus, but I will be in Miss Warford's office. So if there's major emergency, you can say, Coach Wright's in Miss Warford's office, let me go get her or call her or something. But don't do it for something stupid, because I actually will have to be working over there, so don't interrupt me for something stupid. But anyway, the assignment that will be in your Chromebook will be over parabolas. It's a weird one, because it's one of those where it asks you some silly riddle up at the top, and then you got to work out the problems and match it with the word or the letter and answer the riddle, you know. Okay, so that's the type of assignment it is. But it is over parabolas, so you can do it. So that's what you're going to work on Monday. Then we'll be back at it. Okay, good job. Good job, good job.